was trying to catch it because it's swimming slowly, and I'm going towards the fish, and it swims with me, then it disappears, come back to me, and it was coming, and just like over a meter big, and it was just coming back and playing with me in a way. So wherever I go, it was around me, and it was very interesting. The sharks were the pearls, all kind of fish. It was such an amazing experience.
Welcome to the Crossing It Off podcast, where we believe living with intention through a bucket list lifestyle is a great way to bring yourself personal joy. As you are crossing items off your list, you're actually filling up your bucket. The more items you cross off, the more joy gets added, until eventually your joy spills over into the lives of those around you. Now let's start crossing it off together. Is there an item on your bucket list that has some urgency behind it? Like if you don't go see it or don't go do it, it may not happen? For lots of different reasons. Some of those might be that environmentally, those places are going away or they're eroding out of existence. Some of those things might just be that you need to get them done before you get too old or too cranky or don't have money or whatever it is. Today's bucket list storyteller gives us a classic tale of one of the things that's on a lot of people's bucket lists. And he is very adamant that we make sure that we do everything we can to keep it around for others. Let's learn what he's talking about and start crossing it off. I'd like to introduce my guest today. His name is Milko Kukov, and he describes himself as a wellness coach and adventurer, passionate about helping others and caring. Milko, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell listeners what you crossed off your list.
It was snorkeling in the Great Barrier Reef.
Okay, this is on my list too, so I appreciate this conversation. Tell us, what do you know about the Great Barrier Reef? Like, what's some of the background? Why was it important?
So for me, I knew that it's like something amazing, but it's not very easy to see anywhere else or something similar. I know that it's gigantic, and it's pretty much you can see it from space. As far as I know, I'm not sure if that's true information or not.
On good days, probably, yeah, you can.
Yes. So, and also it's like in Australia, which is a very further destination. It's pretty much the furthest point of where I am, almost. And I'm very fascinated by all kind of interest, like things that you can't really see that often. I'm very fascinated by wildlife as well, and there is such a mix of all of it in one place that it was something that I really wanted to do.
Yeah, and so how'd you get that to happen? Did you just hop on a plane and go, or what was the circumstances around you being able to cross this off?
So it was kind of like it was more random than planned, because I went to Australia to live because it was another thing on my list to live in a country that have different culture and stuff like that, and it's very far, and I didn't know anyone, etc., etc. And I spent lots of time there, and because of I was working like crazy and I didn't have any time, and I needed to do something that is really that I always wanted to do, and I knew that if I leave from there and I don't do it, I don't know when am I going to do it. So
yeah, it's a good opportunity. Yeah, being that close.
It was kind of like the end of my experience in Australia. It's kind of finished it in a nice way. So it's a good memory.
Yeah, that's amazing opportunity. Yeah, so often there are things that are so far away that you don't want to miss out. And I think it's a lot of times when Americans visit Europe, they like cram hundreds of things into their itinerary, and that's a good thing, but it also can sometimes you can miss stuff. So I'm glad you got that chance.
Yeah, it's funny that a big part of the Australians haven't haven't been there. So
yeah,
when it's just there, it's like.
Yeah, exactly. When things are close to us, we kind of take them for granted sometimes. I'll get to that. So I can understand that. So walk us through, like, what did you have to do? You had to like drive there, fly there. Did you hook up with a tour group, or how did that all work for you?
So yeah, it's a bit. You can't I don't know if you can, but it's very hard to go by yourself and not be with some group. I don't know if it's even allowed. So I did a road trip around Australia, and then one of my stops was, so I kind of went with the car and the plane and the car, and I went from Cairns. I don't know if whoever knows. So there are many options. Of course, the more you pay, the better places they pick you. So I was kind of in the mid-range. I
Okay.
couldn't afford the best ones, but
Okay.
it was still quite good. So you go on a gigantic boat and they drive you, and you go with the group, and then pretty much they allow you to go by yourself. You visit different places of the reef, so you kind of get to see different areas. And of course, if you pay more, you get much better, more remote places where things are better preserved. But where I went, it was still very nice, and there was still lots of things that is. So pretty much you go, they give you the gear, they drive you where, and they tell you, look, you can go around this area, just don't go this way, don't do that, and
Mm.
like you don't have to touch the corals because it's they like you kill them and stuff like that.
So you're just with a bunch of other people and you're snorkeling. Were you in an area where you can go down deep, or was it, could you stand up? But like, what is that like in the Great Barrier Reef? Because I don't think people have a good idea. Like, you're obviously snorkeling, so you can't go real deep, but can you still?
Yes, so it was interesting because there were you can't really there is places that the depth is not, it's quite shallow, so you can stand up, but you can't really stand up because there are corals down, so
Uh,
you don't want to step on them because you kill them. And of course there are places that you can like there were places around because they bring you to places that you go and there is shallow, there is a bit deeper, and there's places that is very deep that pretty much you need to like over like 10 meters or 30 feet or whatever, where uh, there are people with scuba diving gear that can do that. And it's very nice. The bad part is that on the shallow places, especially because of many boats and
mm,
it's not buccaneers. I don't know what's the word, but they just go illegally and they go with the boats and they hurt the reef, and it's quite bleached in many places, especially on the shallow places. So it's quite dead. There is lots of areas that is dead, which was a bit frustrating, of course. But so where I was going in the shallow, then I was diving deep in some places. There are very like there are such amazing things, and the good thing is that you can see a lot of amazing things even on the shallow, even if it's someone that is afraid. Because I'm a bit more like I like taking measured risks. So
okay.
it was good. I was diving and I was doing, but even if you don't dive, they take you to places. They even give you like gear. Even if you're not a very good swimmer, you can pretty much do it for. It's made for everyone. There were kids. There are people that were doing scuba diving, etc., etc. So it's uh, made quite touristic. So it's easy to do it, even if you don't have the skills to swim or if you're not a great swimmer and stuff. And there's always someone around that you help. They will not leave you
Sure.
like go for it. Figure it out.
So when you're out there and you're looking at the reef, we see pictures online and we see pictures in movies and all that kind of stuff of how beautiful it is. Did it live up to those images that you saw, and what was it that you saw when you were out there snorkeling?
It was very interesting because there was lots of wildlife, like lots of different fishes. I even lots of different fish. I even saw one pearl that was in the rock, but in Australia, it's in the ocean there. I don't know if other places with the ocean, but you need to know not to touch anything on the ground. Usually, it's because there are very many things that can kill you or paralyze you and then stuff like that. So I was not touching, but there was this pearl that I saw that was maybe more than an inch
Wow.
like in diameter. It was huge. I have with my GoPro, I filmed it, and I didn't want to touch it, of course, but it was very very interesting. There were sea turtles, there were lots of different types of fish, very colorful. Unfortunately, the corals, because of the global warming and people that go to the tourism and stuff, are quite bleached. So it's rarely to see very vibrant colors on the corals themselves. But then the fish is quite colorful. It's the fish is the way it is on the videos and on the photos, and you see like Nemo and Dory, and you see some uh, big, like there's some big fish there, that swim. We saw some sharks even, which
Wow.
was very interesting experience, because there were two sharks, and they're not small sharks. They're like probably over 2 meters, I think, gray sharks, which are not very safe. And they told us, look, don't when we saw them, because we were moving, as I mentioned, we were moving from different places,
Right.
and they told us, don't. We saw the sharks in one of the places. They were a bit deeper, like maybe 10 meters deep, and like 30 feet or whatever. And they told us, don't go towards the sharks. Don't dive in this area and stuff. And I was like, come on, how, I'll do it. So I start swimming towards them, and they were still quite far, and they were swimming there were two sharks, and they were swimming in the other direction. And at some point, my bravery, I was like, oh, nothing can happen, I'm playing super brave and stuff. And at some point, one of the sharks turned towards me and started swimming slowly and usually they attack you from the bottom. They
Sure.
go straight up, yeah. And when it turned out, all my bravery, when it turned around and started swimming towards me, all my bravery disappeared. I started swimming like crazy backwards to try to go as far as I can, and because it was coming like closer and closer. And then I guess for some reason it got distracted and it just went away, or decided that I'm not worth it. But that was a very interesting experience, because it's you think that you're super brave, and it's like, you think, nothing can happen to me, and then in like 1 second later you go crazy and panic and stuff.
Here at the Crossing It Off podcast, we are passionate about inspiring you in your bucket list lifestyle and empowering you to live out your lists. We offer many resources to assist you in your bucket list journey, such as web resources in the show notes, bucket list mentoring services, my book Live Out Your Lists, a private Facebook group for you to share your bucket list success stories with others, and more. All of these can be found at crossingitoffpodcast.com. Find the resource that fits your need so that you can live out your list. Now back to the show. Yeah, that's a calculated risk I'm not willing to take, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, it is.
So you visited these sites and you saw all these things, and you get back in the boat and they're heading back to shore. How are you feeling in that moment?
It was quite amazing, because we saw again. I had experience with, like, there was this giant fish that I was trying to catch it because it's swimming slowly, and I'm going towards the fish, and it swims with me, then it disappears, come back to me, and it was coming, and it's just like over a meter big, and it was just coming back and playing with me in a way. So wherever I go, it was around me, and it was very interesting. The sharks were the pearls, the all kind of fish. It was such an amazing experience that I felt like I want to explore even more. And in the same time, you feel a bit, what's the word? Maybe a bit sad in a way,
Mm-hmm.
or because it was so damaged in so many places. Like, there were giant areas that the coral is completely dead. It's like completely white, and so it's kind of like very satisfying and very, in a way, like disturbing because all this all this thing is caused by us,
Right.
and kind of like you want to see it more, and in the same time you don't want to go anymore because you know that you cause damage.
Yeah.
So it is very,
It's
but you feel this kind of like relaxed feeling and satisfaction, and you saw something that first most people don't haven't seen, and something that you don't know if you see again, and all this, and you see things that you've seen on like Dory and Nemo and stuff, which is it's just child's movie, but it's very interesting because you've only seen there like on the movies, and then you see it in real time, and then you see all this how much life there is there, and how small we are actually comparison to what it is there, and of course I saw a very small part of it.
yeah.
You can't probably like the places that are more remote and more less touristics are probably even more amazing. But yeah, it felt very calming, as I said, and satisfactory, and in the same time a bit disturbing.
Yeah, it's a so duality, the fact that it is disappearing, it is going away, and so that and it is because of us, like you said, and yet that just makes it even more appealing. And for me, it's like I want to see it before it goes, before it's all
Yeah.
gone. And but at the same time, I know that my presence is, if I do that, is contributing to it going away. So it's like the gold rush. It's a mad rush to see it before it's gone, and it's even making it happen quicker. Miko, what is something that, like, as you look back on it, that experience, how did that experience change you in any way or make you look at the world differently?
Um, I would say it like make me more accomplished in a way because I saw something so incredible, and then it makes me want to contribute somehow, which I'm kind of doing with my work in a way, and but it makes me want to do it even more to contribute somehow to preservation of all this, not only the reef, but in general the whole nature, because I'm a big lover of nature,
Mm,
and the way we treat it, it's not the best. So that stimulate me even more to want to do that and to want to contribute and somehow help for, because even for us nowadays, even if you go and see it now, it's still something that it's already quite damaged, and you can't really see even 10 years ago, people that have been 10 years ago and been now, it's a completely different
right.
experience. So it's good to see it as soon as possible, but it's good to also do something to preserve it. And I think they are doing stuff now, but we still need to do a lot. So that was kind of like one of the things that it just made me feel like I need to do more and keep doing more.
So if you were talking to somebody and telling them your story and describing what you described to us, and they said, "Oh, I'd like to put the Great Barrier Reef on on my bucket list," what would be something you'd say? Oh, if you're going to do it, you have to X. What's X?
I would say two things. One is maybe even three. Two things. One is that it's good to have a better budget
Mm,
so you can get to the more remote places, because the more remote places, the corals are better preserved, and they're like in some reserve, and it's very much more wildlife,
hmm
much more color on the corals and much more coral, and that's maybe one of the most important thing if you want to see. The second thing is that Great Barrier Reef is amazing, and in the same time, on the other side of Australia, it has also great reefs that are much more. It's pretty much same type of fish.
Huh.
I think it's not very different. Of course, you can't say that you've been to the Great Barrier Reef, but
Right.
they are much more preserved. You can go by yourself. I went once with with a kayak, and you just go with the kayak and you go to these crazy big areas and you snorkel there, and there are turtles there are different type of fish, and so it's very similar, but I would say more preserved.
Hmm.
And I don't know if there was something more in the Barrier Reef that I saw that I didn't saw on the other side too, on west coast. So that's the other thing. But then, of course, you can't say I went to the Great Barrier
Right.
Reef. I went to the other reef in Australia.
That's
That's
a good point, right? There's, like even for Americans, we've got, Belize is closer and it has the second largest barrier reef in the world next to Belize. So it's like, yeah, do I have to have that badge that says I did the Great Barrier Reef, or are you going for an experience of seeing
exactly.
wonderful colors and fish? Yeah, that's a good thing.
Exactly, and just because it's something is bigger than others, it doesn't mean that it's better. But of course, it's worth it. It's so. But if you're going there, it's better to you see, even if you buy cheap ones, cheap tickets and cheap excursions. But if you manage to gather more money, you'll go to much better places for sure.
That's a good piece of advice. Nicole, what's something else that you want to cross off your bucket list?
There's so many things, but I would say it's again like a destination thing, and it's seeing the Northern Lights. That's
Oh, okay.
something, and visiting this type of countries, this part of the world, uh, and I have many others that are I'm working on accomplishing. But that's kind of like the one that I see myself most recently doing.
And
It's
why the Northern Lights? What's the draw there?
because I love nature, and in general this part of the like of Europe even it's
Hmm.
amazing, and there's such nature there, such mountains, such rivers and everything which I love. And on top of that, you see the Northern Lights, which is something that you can't like. I guess you can't even imagine seeing it in a way because you can like even when you see a nice sunrise or sunset, and it gives you such good feeling. And I imagine these things that is so different from what we've seen, or like magnificent or
Yeah,
magnificent. And I like seeing things like big things that are very like this why I like whales. I wanted to swim with whales and stuff like that, which is it have some strong impact, and everything related to nature I really enjoy seeing. And this is something that you also can see, and not many people also have seen it. It's quite a phenomenon that
yeah.
you can see. So that's I like seeing things that are not common.
There you
Let's
go.
say it that way.
Well, awesome. Miko, where can folks find you online and get to know you a little bit more and learn what you do?
So they can find me pretty much on all the platforms like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, even with my name Milko Kukov, or they can go to my website that is milkokukov.com, and there
Awesome.
they can find all the information how to work with me or whatever they want.
Great. That's awesome. I will make sure all those get put in the show notes so that people can find you easily. Nicola, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate the conversation, and I hope that you get to see the Northern Lights soon.
Thank you too.